I'm Sophie.
And I'm Phaedra.
And this is My Best View.
Sophie, what was your best view this week?
I promised last week that my best view would be an antique, and it is. Because this week I went antique shopping. I was highly successful.
Oh boy.
The specific items that we were looking for were vintage servingware from Nymphenburg Porcelain, which is a porcelain brand I could talk about ad nauseum, but it's a very special porcelain brand. It's actually decently hard to come by their items, and it's especially hard to come by unpainted items from them, because most of the vintage or antique items from them are painted. And we found this serving bowl, which you haven't even seen yet.
Oh, show and tell. Show me.
I don't know how well you can see it, but it's just like slightly scalloped. It has this like little kind of like tiny bay leaves around the edge. Like it's just the perfect level of complexity in my opinion.
Gorgeous.
I'm obsessed with this. I can't wait to serve who knows what out of it.
What are you going to serve in there? Hopefully not a Jell-O salad or some Midwestern bullshit.
No. I can't believe you'd accuse me of that.
I know. No, I said surely not that.
Surely not that. When I was little, I was always an old soul, and like I always had like elderly taste in things, and I always thought like at some point as I aged I would like catch up, but I realized like now I'm in my 30s and now my interests are like 70 plus, because every antique store we went to, every single person was like, it's so fascinating to meet young people with such a passion for this. You know, usually our clientele are much older.
God bless.
What was your best view this week? Certainly nothing as good as a brand new antique bowl.
It certainly could not match up to that. But my best view this week, what a fucking roller coaster this goddamn week was. The biggest thing that was the cause of this emotional roller coaster is I'm very, very sad to let everyone know my beloved family dog Boba does in fact have cancer. We found out very quickly, totally came out of nowhere. And it sucks so bad.
Genuinely top one worst thing that ever happened in the whole world.
I fully agree. Not only is she just a dog inherently lovely, but she really is like very special, and she's just a little angel on earth. So it's very, very sad that she has cancer. And that was obviously not my best view. But
right.
My best view was seeing her come home from her first session of chemo on Friday. So that was about 3 days ago. And the change is like a 180. She is, I'm not going to say totally back to her old self, but she's like running around a little bit and barking even. She's licking our feet again, you know, just little things.
So glad.
She just wasn't able to move, you know, and she's such an energetic dog. It was awful. But seeing her after chemo was my best view.
Oh, she's such a special dog. Like, yeah, all dogs are special, but like, I feel like she's a genius human reincarnated. Like, she really has a full human brain. She operates on a very high level.
She does.
She's such a special dog. And so obviously devastated that she's sick, but really happy that she's at least like not in pain, it seems.
Yeah, it was the pain. Like seeing her like in pain was just, it was awful. So yeah, really excited for whatever extra time we get with her, and we're going to make it freaking count.
Amen.
All right, so we start this episode with Catie and Josh. It is one day before their wedding, and Josh is going on his stag do, which is the British version of a bachelor party. And who is in attendance but only two of his female friends, which I would have to say doesn't look like a traditional stag do.
They even said as much. I feel like they were like, yeah, usually it's men doing this for other men, but...
Josh's female friends explain that a lot of his male friends couldn't make it to the wedding. And so they're like, yeah, this isn't something we've ever done before, but we're trying to like, you know, make it a proper stag do. So it's kind of funny. So they get to the bar, and part of making it a proper stag do is making Josh go into the bathroom and dress in drag. And so he specifically wears some Spice Girls outfit or something reminiscent of their
Ginger Spice.
Sorry. Showing our cultural, aka generational
age
difference.
gap.
Yeah. Okay, Ginger Spice. So it's like a Union Jack short, sexy little dress. And then he has like a blonde reddish wig on.
Reddish, famously. Ginger Spice.
And Josh kind of humorously explains that in the UK, a stag do is less about an American bachelor party where they're like going to the strip club and having fun. And it's more about making the groom question his choice in friends, which is kind of funny.
And I just have to pop in and say, as someone living in Munich, Germany, I am a victim of all of the British stag do's that think Munich would be such a fun location to come drink beer, and they dress the groom in like a like a costumey version of like the traditional Bavarian outfit. And then the other guys all wear lederhosen, and they're like, he's dressed as a girl. And it's so goddamn annoying.
I didn't know that was such a thing in Munich.
I feel like Amsterdam was probably similar, and like the amount of like drunk British tourist men who want to go there. Yeah. There it was for other vices. Here it's all about the beer. Ugh, just the sight, even though Josh, I know is not like that, the sight of a stag do, like, it gets me like having a heart palpitation because I hate them so much when I see them here.
Fight or flight for real.
Yeah.
And to the camera in his little stag do drag outfit, Josh says something very telling. He says, maybe this is training for a married life where I don't have an opinion or autonomy.
I have to say, I don't mean to be too woke about this, but it really bummed me out to hear him say this because I know him to be like a pretty progressive man. And I understand this is probably more specific to his relationship, but I just like, I don't know. I hate men perpetuating the idea that by getting married, they're giving something up.
I know.
I hate that rhetoric. I was sad to hear it come out of his mouth. Even though I know he doesn't mean it in like a red-pilled kind of way, it made me sad to hear.
I agree. And I feel I don't want to sound like a too serious American because I feel like a lot of British people like kind of have this like sarcastic humor, but it's just not that funny when like low-key this is the case with Josh's relationship. It's like the thing we were talking about, or like you can't really make jokes about stuff that's actually a problem in your relationship right now.
I know.
It's also kind of cracking me up because when Josh comes out and is like in the dress, you know, like his friends are like, oh, haha. And like the two other people at the bar are like, what's that? You know, like, but it's just so funny because his friends just don't seem that into it. They really had to force themselves to do this. They were very like, anyway, like, I don't know. The vibe was not as like silly and like rambunctious as I feel would have been needed given what he was wearing.
I was a little bit getting the vibe from this of like, you know, that meme of the girl with like a bag of frozen peas on her head. It's like, she's so crazy.
I can't take her anywhere.
A little bit of that thing where it's like, he's wearing a dress and a wig. Oh my God. And it's like, I feel like if I were at the bar, I would like see him in the outfit and be like, oh, okay, I guess it's like funny little outfit, and then like move on. And I feel like they were trying to get the people at the bar to be like gasping about it. And I just like,
y'all are in Portland. I don't think this is the craziest shit they've seen today.
I know.
So then, of course, the conversation that Josh is having with his friends at the bar takes a lovely turn to Josh talking about Catie and how, in his words, she hasn't been able to stop herself from making out with other people. Both the friends are kind of like, oh, and one of them is like, that's not great if your relationship is monogamous.
I agree.
So understated, yet such a good point. And Josh confuses the ever-loving fuck out of me because he tells his friends that, quote, I want to build a life together. And if she were pressing for openness, I'd need to know that before we get married, you know?
Seems like she is, and seems like you do know that.
How many conversations have they explicitly had about this? Am I going crazy? Am I like misremembering? Was this?
No, you're not. And I'm really sick of people on this show being like, if X happens, then the consequence is gonna be Y. And then X happens 100 times, and they're like, wow. Well, if it happens again.
Just be honest about what is and isn't a deal breaker for you. You know?
I know.
And you don't have to think that it's right, but it's like, if your deal breaker is not getting cheated on, okay. Honestly, there's a lot of people like that. You're not the only one. So I don't know. Just stop pretending it is.
I agree.
So in the next section, Josh comes back from the stag do to the wedding venue. It doesn't seem like much time has passed, to be honest. I almost feel like the sun is still up.
It kind of felt like it was an hour long.
I felt like a lunch break, if anything. I was like, okay, like whatever. So anyway, Josh comes back to the wedding venue and he's in his outfit, and Katie's mom and Catie laugh at his outfit, and, you know, they're like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. Now we do another cut very quickly to Catie and Josh settling into bed the night before their wedding. And Josh asks Catie if there's anything she wants to talk about before they get married. And she says no, and she's just really excited and hope everything goes smoothly. And surely it won't, just because of her planning skills that we've seen in the previous episodes, but whatever.
I know.
But more importantly, Catie asks the question back to him. Is there anything that he wants to talk about before they get married?
I know it strikes me as British, but I find it funny when people want to say something, instead of bringing it up, they're like, what did you think about XYZ? And then they're hoping you'll be like, oh, what did you think? Instead of just being able to be like, hey, can we talk about this?
I know, I agree. And Josh, you know, he's very direct here, as much as a British person possibly can be. Josh tells her that he doesn't want to go into marriage with there being any questions or things covered up that should be uncovered. And he brings up the openness topic specifically and says that talking with his friends confirmed that he wants monogamy and he's looking for the same in return from her. You know, no way to misinterpret that. Very clear. Right. I appreciate that. And Catie says, can we never make out with anyone again? What are you talking about?
Also, I know we're not not the first to say this, but like, I genuinely do not understand her obsession with making out.
It's so weird.
I've never heard anybody outside of like high school care this much about making out.
Yeah. I feel like as an adult, you would just be like, I guess if you're going to call it anything, it would be kiss or something.
I know. And also it's just a really bizarre thing to be like, this is the specific thing I want to be doing.
I mean, I agree. Also, just the childlike way that she talks in general, but specifically about sex, the combination of those two things, I've said it before and I'll say it again, freaks me the fuck out. Like, it's really unnerving and odd, and I don't know where it's coming from, but it's weird.
I know what you mean. Also, it's like when you're in a not reading the room competition and your opponent is Catie.
Oh my God.
Like, I find it so stressful that he's like here bearing his soul night before the wedding, want to make sure we're on the same page. She's like, what about making out?
And the crazy thing is they've had this conversation a million times. I'm like, Catie, you know the answer. I think what bothers me so much about her in this conversation is she knows the answer, right? There's absolutely no question. He has clarified it explicitly at this point 2 times, including this conversation, at least. Like, in terms that you can't misinterpret, he has said, I want to be monogamous. And that to me means neither of us having other sexual or making out partners. And for me with Catie, it all comes back to boundaries and consent and the way that she doesn't respect either of those things. Because given that she knows the answer to this question and that Josh would say no, the reason she's repeatedly asking it is she is trying to wear him down until he agrees and says it's fine because he feels that he can't do anything else.
She takes his no as a negotiation.
Yes.
And at a certain point, though, they both bother me because, yeah, I'm frustrated with her that she keeps hearing no and being like, but, what about this? What about this? But what? And it's like, no is no, period. But also, I do find it frustrating with Josh where it's like, if you are going to set a boundary, you also have to enforce that boundary.
Yeah.
And if you have every time been like, oh, but okay, I'll forgive you this once. Okay, I'll forgive you this twice. I'll forgive you this thrice. At a certain point, it's like, okay, so then you are also sending the message that your boundary doesn't exist. If there's no enforcement, it isn't a boundary, basically.
Yeah.
And so they both frustrate me here because I'm like, why are we wasting each other's time having this conversation when nothing is actually going to come of it?
Yeah, I don't know. So, it's also just like, I understand the whole sunk cost fallacy of it, you know, like people feeling, oh, I'm already here and like, why not just get married and give it a shot? Like, I've already made it this far. The thing with Josh specifically, though, and like their circumstances is he comes from a country with a lot of opportunity. Like, I know that he quit his job, but like, I'm sure he could get a job again back where he's from. You know what I mean? Like, there is a future for him in his home country, and it's relatively easy for him to get back. Also, I'm sorry, but like, it's not like they've put in so much money into their wedding that even like that could really be a factor of like, oh fuck, we've put fucking like $60K into this wedding. Like, the idea of backing out now, genuinely, like, I understand that being hard for people, right? Even if actually in the long run you would save money because getting a divorce is expensive as fuck. But like, I understand psychologically why that's hard. They're getting married in like a multi-purpose room in a DIY fashion. You're really not going to lose much by canceling.
Yeah.
So Catie then asks another question after, can we make out with anyone again? She asks, but what if we want to have a threesome in the future? And he's like, well, I mean, that would be fine if that's what we both wanted. And like, okay, sure, we could still be in a monogamous relationship and like choose to have a threesome if that's what we both wanted. But he says that he doesn't know if he'll ever want that. And so like, basically he's saying no, right? But what he does know right now is he wants to make a commitment to her and only her. Again, extremely explicit and clear. And Catie in an interview says, I don't have any doubts about him. It's more like I have doubts about how I would act in that situation. I just love flirting and I've always loved flirting. Again, why does this feel so childish to me?
Extremely.
It really feels like a conversation a middle school girl would have about her first boyfriend.
You know, I've talked to you about this a lot, both on the pod and off, about like the ways in which I feel like so much of our cultural messaging around love and relationships is formed in like middle school and high school with these ideas of like getting asked to prom or like whatever. Like, I really think that is very formative in our culture. And I'm kind of getting echoes of that, where it's like almost like, well, what if someone else asked me to prom? You know what I mean? Like, that feels like the level of the conversation here. And I'm just like, well, adults don't need to plan their whole relationship around like, what if I want to flirt with someone? Like, I just never heard people speak like that.
I don't think that this is not genuine to Catie, but it's like, at the very least, this is a sign that you shouldn't be getting married. Like, you're just not ready, to be honest. Like, you're really not. You're not ready to make that commitment, and that's okay. I mean, Catie is fairly young, and if she's someone who never feels ready to get married, that's also fine. You don't have to do that. something that could ring true for me a bit. I mean, it would still be immature, but it would make a bit more sense is if she's someone who was raised very religious and like perhaps her parents didn't let her date in high school, etc. I wonder if when she went off to college and, I mean, clearly she's living in Portland now, like she's moved away from her family and she was living in Europe too. Like as a young adult, she suddenly spent time away from her family. I wonder if
It's like a Rumspringa.
yeah, like if she suddenly was able to like explore her sexuality in a way that was like repressed because she does come from a very religious family. And I wonder if she's just really enjoying doing that, and like because she wasn't allowed to, she can't see it at this point in her life in like a balanced way of like, oh, okay, like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm trying to say? I don't know.
I do. And I think that is fine. I think if that's the point you are in life, then there's nothing wrong with that. But then don't try to bring a monogamous person into it. And like, it's just simply not the time to get married. You're not ready to say death to the whole life.
You're not.
Nothing wrong with the whole life being alive and well, but don't get married when that's happened.
Crazy idea. And so Josh tells her, in bed together back in the moment that he doesn't want to set the wrong expectation or give her false hope that one day he'll change his mind about this, basically. And he's looking for a commitment to one person mutually. And Catie says that she's signing up for that too, and she thinks they're on the same page. Okay. Me when I fucking lie.
But also, like, I was struck by how passive and understated her response was. It was like, yeah, I think we're on the same page.
Yeah, her tone really shifted. She became very quiet.
It wasn't like eye contact, 100%, I'm here with you. It was like, yeah, we're on the same page. That's the response to all this. That was crazy to me.
Yeah. Obviously, it just rings so false because it's like with the frequency with which you brought this up, etc. I don't think that like anything has been discussed or revealed in this conversation that both of you didn't already know. And so nothing has changed.
Also, two things that annoyed me here. One was that Josh seemed to accept this as like a genuinely good response to what he was saying. It reminded me of when she said she didn't make out with someone at her bachelorette party and he was like, great, I trust you. And I was like, whoa,
Wait.
I don't know. That feels like a lot to be giving when you didn't get that much from her,
Yeah.
But Catie, again, I don't know if you caught this, again talked about how she has an open mind as a person. And I'm sick of her using open mind as a euphemism for desire to have an open relationship.
Yes.
Because I think Josh has an open mind. He seems very open to new cultures, new information, whatever. Open mind does not mean open relationship.
No.
I'm kind of annoyed with her repeatedly using it as a term for that.
I've got to fucking agree. Because I think framing it in that way, it makes the person who only wants monogamy look like a really closed-minded, boring, or like conservative person. And it's like, no, you just want different things. It doesn't have to be like a evil thing,
No, I agree.
Josh in an interview says that he hopes that Catie is not just saying this because she feels trapped into making that choice. And he hopes that she's saying it because it's the truth. It's like, he knows.
I know. What stressed me out was that Catie said in an interview that although she's, going to go along with it and everything, she is disappointed that the door is closing.
It's been closed, baby.
It's been closed.
It's been closed since the day that you guys got together. You kept forcing that bitch open.
With like a crowbar.
Yeah.
And then Catie says to Josh, quote, I think it won't be an issue. And I'm just going to need like a little more confidence in the response.
She acts as if it's something completely outside of her control, as if it's like, yeah, like, what's an example?
I think it won't rain on our wedding day, but it could.
Yeah. Like, well, okay, different. This one you 100% have control over. It's not even like he's mad at her because, let's say, other people have like a crush on her or are attracted to her. And it's like, oh, well, okay, I hope that won't be an issue going forward. It's like, no, it's an action you're doing. It's completely on you.
Also at this point, like, I can't imagine this conversation having gone any differently because the thing is, Catie wants both. She wants to be married to Josh, or with Josh at least, and she wants to have the option to make out with other people.
Yes.
So she's never going to be the one to say, okay, I'll just pick the one if she can have both.
Mm-hmm.
And then Josh does not seem to be truly capable of enforcing the ultimatum.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, well, of course she was just going to be like, oh, yeah, okay, that's fine. Because if she's like, he's not forcing her hand any differently than he was previously.
Mm-hmm.
I also, like, this is just a small side, but it stresses me out so much on the show as well when people like the day before the wedding are talking about like, well, like tomorrow we're committing to each other, so we have to blah, blah. Like, it stresses me out on the show how much people perceive as like things that are going to change like once you're married.
Yeah.
I don't think a legal agreement is the thing that's going to change the behavior if like a social agreement hasn't.
For better or worse, getting married doesn't change anything about your relationship. Really. I mean, not day to day. Obviously it's different from not being married, right? Like legally. And maybe for some people it means that they can have sex, right? But it doesn't actually change anything but your connection with that person and how you treat each other, etc.
I agree. So obviously they're going to get married, and I just find myself kind of losing patience with both of them. So speaking of losing patience, now we are going to talk about Thomas and Paula.
Okay, fascinating shit.
Very interesting. One thing I flagged very early on, these two love to be on wheels. And again, we see them sharing a bike going to dinner. And Paula is like having trouble hanging on, and she has like her phone in her hand. And she's like struggling to hold on to Thomas, and he just snatches her phone out of her hand. And he's like, now you can hold on with both hands. And she's like, you can't just grab my phone. And he's like, well, you're complaining about not being able to hold on. And it's like, I feel like that encompasses just so much of the way that they have conflict.
And it's all on his terms.
Yeah, it's not even him being like, oh, maybe if you put your phone away, you can hold on.
Mm-hmm.
It's the snatching. It reminds me of the gluing the perfume shut.
Yes. It's very like violence adjacent in a way that I don't like.
It is a physical escalation, and it kind of, it sent a shiver down my spine to see that. So they are now sitting in a restaurant, and it's like reasonably nice, and they're like pretty dressed up, and I'm still gagged that they biked there.
And yeah, she's gagged too.
She tells the camera that like this is not the vibe she was expecting the night before their wedding, because keep in mind, they're getting married tomorrow. Now Paula tells Thomas that she's upset that he made her ride a bike to this nice dinner. And
yeah,
he says that they saved a ton of money by biking. And she goes, what, $12 for parking? And he goes, it's actually $20.
If you can't afford or didn't want to pay for the parking required to go to that specific restaurant, okay, go to a different restaurant.
Parking is not $20 everywhere. I know.
Yeah, like don't piss me off. If you can't afford it, you can't afford it. And that's okay. Like do something else. You don't force it. If like going there means that it's going to be like ruined because you have to bike there. Like it's stupid.
I agree. I don't know if this was on social media or what that she was talking about, like the fact like why she expects Thomas to pay for things. Did you see this?
No, I didn't. I missed that.
People were like, you have money, clearly. Like, you're well off in Brazil. You have a successful business. Why don't you pay for things? And she basically said, like, she's training Thomas to be a gentleman or something like that. And, like, she wants him to, like, learn, like, to pay for things, like how to treat a woman or whatever. Which, like, I have complicated feelings about that. But I also just feel like fundamentally it's a mismatch. This is a woman who wants to be wined and dined and treated. And whether it's her cultural context or her just personal belief system, she wants to be wined and dined. And he is like very frugal. And I just feel like it's not a match.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I feel too.
And
also just the way that like when Paula is saying like, hey, like I wish that we didn't bike here. I told you I didn't want to do it. And like you made me do it anyway. And like expressing her feelings about it. And I think fairly, and not in like an aggressive way. She's just like, if anything, she looks sad. And the way that he's just like, well, I thought it was a good idea and we saved money. So emotionless. Like I don't know. I felt really strange.
They just don't get each other, I think. It's interesting. At this point, they kind of start fighting pretty much the whole meal.
Yeah.
And Thomas says he's not happy with all of Paula's requests and her focus on consumerism. Which is kind of interesting because, like, I honestly, I can understand to a certain degree. Like, she mentioned, like, also on social media, like, she gets all of her miniatures from, like, Amazon and, like, Temu and stuff like that. And I can imagine, honestly, I think I'd be annoyed if, like, a bunch of Temu packages were showing up on my door every day.
Sure.
But spending money is not the same as consumerism.
Yes.
Her wanting to drive to the restaurant is not consumerism.
No.
And I think it's unfair to lump the two.
Yes, I agree.
And at this point, Paula is starting to tear up. As you mentioned, she's very sad. And she says that she's worried about getting married. And she uses the most fabulous phrase to describe what's happening. She says that he's doing a foie gras and stuffing his lifestyle down her throat.
That's incredible. Thank you, Paula, for this new saying. I will be incorporating it into my vocabulary going forward.
I already love saying I feel like a foie gras when I eat too much food, but I've never used it in like a more abstract concept. So I like
you
that.
You are foie growing me.
Yeah. And again, I'm like, hey, this is a crazy conversation to be having the night before your wedding.
And the thing is with these two, I believe it. Because sometimes there's these conflicts that feel kind of producer driven, you know, the night before the wedding. Like last season, like with Jessica and Juan, I don't know if you remember, but like the night before the wedding, he's like, I'm mad that you don't speak Spanish. And she's like,
Yeah.
okay, like literally I can't do anything about that the night before the wedding. Like, get over
And
it.
he's like, actually, it's fine.
Yeah, like there's stuff like that where I'm like, okay, whatever. Whether or not it was real, it obviously is not a deal breaker. But this, I'm like, this is a very fair deal breaker. Like, this is actually a big deal.
I know. And Paula at this point says that she is considering going back to Brazil with her family when they go back.
Number one, I support her. But number two, that's crazy. Like, to be feeling that way.
It's a big thing to be feeling and dropping at this dinner.
Yeah. And here's my thing. If she genuinely is like, no, I'm like 10 seconds away from making that decision, I think it's correct for her to be telling him. But if it's looking a manipulation tactic to like get him to, I don't know, change in some way, even if like I agree with like what she wants him to change, that also wouldn't be healthy. So I'm curious what's happening here.
I know. And Thomas is really upset by her saying this, which I think, again, is fair. Like, I'm not the biggest Thomas fan, but like, he's like, that's crazy. Like, it's crazy you're threatening to go back to your country. Like, imagine if I did the same thing to you. Like, that would be, it's a lot. And he says he feels like Paula perceives this life as temporary, like that she's just here for the visa and whatever. And she keeps thinking about going back. And he's like, this should be like your life that you're planning forever if we're getting married.
I'm so curious what he meant by that.
I think he meant that she's only thinking about like the 90 days, basically. I mean, if you think about it this way, like, I don't know what his situation was in terms of like not wanting to go to Brazil himself, but like, why is she going through the process of like applying for a green card and everything, even on that level, if she doesn't see a future for herself, even short term in the US? I think that's fair, Right. But to this, Paula is like, that's so unfair for you to say because like you don't even see all the things I've given up to be here. I wouldn't just throw all that away for like a temporary thing.
Sure.
And then he starts talking about how she needs to challenge herself. And that like her instincts are just to just do the easiest thing, like whatever that means.
I have no idea what he meant, but as soon as a 30-something man from Long Beach is telling me that I need to challenge myself, I say, you need to go fuck yourself. How about that? I don't know, something about it. I was like, okay, Mr. Talk Down to me. Like, I don't know. I didn't like it.
When he said that, like a Manosphere podcast started coming out of his mouth.
For sure. It felt itself not evil, but it felt evil adjacent.
It had a sinister tone to it. And then she says in Portuguese, you're so annoying. You're so annoying. You're a son of a bitch. You're so fucking annoying. And I loved when she said that stuff.
The way she said it too was so matter of fact and calm. It wasn't even like oh, fuck you. It wasn't like angry.
You're so annoying.
You're so such an annoying cunt. Yeah, like it was
such a son of a bitch.
So we're just letting you know, just relaying the info.
And then Thomas to this says that his life 3 months ago, aka before she got there, was very, very easy and different than today. Okay. So break up.
Yeah.
And then they're now basically both almost like playing chicken, waiting for the other to break up. They're like, so what are you trying to say? So what are you trying to say?
I can't.
And then Paula's talking about, I'm trying to figure out if we should break up or get married. And I'm like, that is so scary that like, those are the two options. Like that it's literally the wedding is tomorrow. So the options literally are
break up or get married. Like I could understand. I mean, it's not ideal either. And I don't know if a relationship could arguably even survive it, but it would be something else if a couple was like, okay, we're deciding if we want to get married or if we want to kind of call off the immigration thing and just continue dating and maybe try this again another day. We're just not ready yet. Like, for example, if like a Marissa and Edward were in that situation, I'd be like, okay, like, I don't know realistically if you guys can actually manage to do that, but that I understand so much more than like, okay, the decision is get married or break up. I'm like, okay, then obviously the decision has to be break up because the fact that
you should not be thinking about that the night before your wedding. I know.
Yeah, like that can't be a possibility for you guys. That means you're not ready.
And like, I really think people play fast and loose with the term cold feet. This is not cold feet.
Yeah. Cold feet, I feel, means like objectively it's not a bad idea to get married, but you're just like scared. You're nervous.
Yeah, you're just like, maybe the reality of like, wait, we're going to be married. Like, wow, that's a big deal. Okay. Not being like, I hate you. You're so annoying, you son of a bitch.
Yeah. Do you think that your partner is annoying and a son of a bitch? And also to call them that, sorry, that's also crazy and mean. Like, I kind of agree, but I'm not the one who's supposedly in love with Thomas.
I know. And also, again, I'm not trying to say like everything that's in my relationship is the best and everyone should be like me, but I remember going back to the night before my wedding, I was like kicking my feet like, hey, getting married tomorrow. I wasn't like, I hate you. I hate you.
So should we break up or should we get married? You decide. Yeah. No, I know. I was just excited.
So this makes me sad. And you know what makes me fucking sadder?
What?
That I saw in the preview for next week, her wearing a fucking wedding dress.
Oh my God. Which one? Was it the ceremony or the reception? Because if it's the reception, we know that means that they got married.
It was a ceremony dress, so technically it could mean anything. But I'm like, don't even fucking waste my time having this conversation if you're just going to go through with it anyway.
And you know what this show is going to do? If anything, it's going to be waste our fucking time.
And we're going to waste our own time talking about it for hours every week.
Close reading it. The way that it takes us double the amount of time of the length of the episode to watch it because we're taking such diligent notes. Like, the real losers here are us for sure.
And that's fine. We know that.
We've never said we were anything but losers. Up next, we have Marissa and Edward, and up front on screen, it says 20 days to wed. So just a reminder, they are a bit further behind in the timeline than other people. That kind of explains how we have 2 more full episodes after this. You know, the timelines are all over the place. They're at home together, Marissa and Edward, and this appears to be the morning after the fight that they had at that restaurant that kind of was going on in the past 2 episodes of the show. And Edward tells her that the fight that they had last night was surprising because Marissa has been doing so well the past 2 weeks, and this fight is just a big red flag that they need to figure out before they get married.
I agree.
And Edward tells her that the bullshit last night was unnecessary. And she says that he needs to read her emotions better. And she asks him to not start a deep conversation in that moment, like when she's already, I assume she means when she's already upset. Marissa, though, does take accountability for walking away during the argument, even though she knew that he doesn't like stuff like that. So, you know, she's acknowledging she shouldn't have done that, knowing that. But she kind of explains like, okay, I was trying to calm down. Like I did have the right intentions, but like I knew that you don't like that. So I'm sorry for doing it anyway. And in an interview, she says that she's trying to soften how she speaks to Edward. And at the time during that fight, she was hangry. And she says like that's basically why she got so escalated so quickly. But she said that's not fair to him regardless of that. And all he wanted to do was express his emotions. And she felt bad for not giving him the space and opportunity to do that.
I will say when she said she was hangry, I was like, it must have been some really low blood sugar because I feel like hangry is more like, I don't know, like a little curt or like a little, like I feel like that was a lot to put on hanger.
I also, as someone who gets hangry pretty bad, and I recognize it's an annoying trait and I apologize. Like there's really, I simply was born this way. I can't do much about it. But what I can do about it is at the very least, when I start being a cunt because I'm hangry, I go, you know what? I feel my emotions very strongly right now and I'm mad at you, but just so you know, I think what's going on is I'm hangry. Can we please eat something? And then continue.
And you know what? They had chicken wings sitting on that table untouched.
And that, okay, so that's where I go, I don't know. I think you're an adult and eat a wing and then continue fighting.
I always do appreciate her language of like taking accountability or whatever. I genuinely do. But this didn't ring fully true to me. That's all. I was kind of like, I don't know. I don't, it was like a pretty nasty argument that they had. And I feel like it's a lot to be explaining away as hanger.
I have to agree with that. Marissa tells Edward that she made the decision that she still does want to marry him. And she says that he's her person, her soulmate. And she gets excited because she says that she learned that word in Spanish. And she says media naranja, which means half an orange, which is kind of cute. But I just have to say, the way that she said it is so funny. It's like, hey, just so you know, I decided that I still want to marry you. Though I don't know how to say, but like the way that she said it was not, oh, and do you feel the same way? Or like, just so you know, I'm all in and like, I'm sorry I made you doubt anything. But like, it was like, okay, I've come to my conclusion and that's all we were waiting on. And yeah, I've decided you're worthy. I've deemed this okay to go forward. I felt that was a little odd, very much on her terms.
I agree.
And to the camera, Marissa says that she's not ready to give up on their relationship, especially now that he's in the United States, even though they've been having their ups and downs. And she says she might get angry and express her emotions too harshly, but she'll always regain that sense of love for him.
I don't love that.
I don't, right? Like, doesn't it feel so, like, about on her terms? It doesn't feel like, oh, our relationship is just so precious to me and I love Edward for who he is, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, well, you know, I'm able to still love him and I put too much into this investment and I don't want to back off now.
I want to be very specific with my choice of words here because I'm not accusing her of anything, but there's something in this language that reminded me of the cycle of like abusive relationships where it's like it's up and it's down and it's up, right? And it's like it's and rather than focusing on the harm, it's like, well, there's recovery that's happened. And like as long as we're good now, it's fine. And there was just something where it's like that kind of upset me to hear about her being like, yeah, I'll be angry, I'll be all these things, but then I'll be happy again. But then and it's like, well, to me, it's less about having all the peaks and valleys and more about, can you stabilize?
Yeah.
Can you try to have more of a continuous, rather than being at a 1 and then a 10 and then a 1 and then a 10, like, can we try to just be a 5 all the time?
Yes.
You know, and I worry about what that says to imply that you can pretty much do and say whatever you want, and then if you're nice afterwards, it's fine.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if that's what she was implying, but that's what it sounded like, and I didn't like that. This whole thing, well, I'll always love him again. It's like, well, how about you love him continuously?
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know, it's not so much about if you guys love each other, it's about if you're kind to each other.
Yeah.
And then they go off to like bang to resolve the tension.
Edward's like, let's solve this problem in bed. And you know, it's a good reminder too, Edward is right where he wants to be.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
You know, and like, it's funny, even in the way he was talking about this, obviously, like, I don't know what the whole conversation was. Maybe we missed some stuff, but he brought it up. He was like, I didn't like your bullshit. And then like very quickly he was like, yeah, okay. And then they moved on. Like, he didn't seem as bothered by the conversation as the viewers were.
Yeah. Honestly, because this is the day after, it seems like this isn't even like a long time and they've resolved it. It's just like pretty fresh.
Yeah. Like, I do feel like he knows who she is, you know?
I agree. So then we cut to like another time with them still at home, and Edward comes to her with like some papers and says that he signed the prenup. And Marissa's really excited, and it's just like a funny little thing. She says that she really didn't want him to see the asset page, like listing out her assets, but quote, I guess I have to disclose that to you. That was kind of odd.
Agreed.
Like, I don't know. It doesn't feel like something you would say to your adult partner who you view as an equal.
I know.
Why would she not want to show him her assets? I find that strange. I don't know. If a married couple has like separate bank accounts and like don't even share all assets, like I don't think that's wrong. I think whatever works for you, honestly. I do think it's weird to feel weird about disclosing what you own. Yeah, that's the thing I find odd. And then he kind of laughs and he's like, yeah, but my page had nothing on it, like $0. And she says, I know you have nothing, babe, but I still love you.
That really icked me out. That really icked me out.
Like the way she's like, her tone, I was like, oh my God, like it's kind of weird. But then he laughs and is like, thank God he's right where he wants to be. Like, honestly.
That's what I mean. It's like, we can be like, oh, that wouldn't be for me, but he's hearing what we're hearing. This isn't stuff she's saying behind his back. At the very least, I will say, with this couple, the incriminating stuff we're finding out is not like in interviews behind people's backs. Like, she says that in front of him and he's like, haha, okay. And it's like, okay, I guess if he's fine with it, you know?
Yeah, honestly, I really mean that. Marissa tells Edward that she doesn't want him to think that she thinks that he's marrying her for her money. That's not what this is about. She says it's more of a way to protect her children if, God forbid, anything bad happened, which I think is responsible and fair.
Support, yeah.
Anyway, so then they go to their wedding venue together, and in a couple interview, Edward says that the wedding is more of a woman's thing, and he doesn't really have any opinion, so whatever Marissa wants is good. I don't love this kind of like traditional language, but whatever.
This brought something up for me though, which I wanted to mention actually, which is, remember last episode, Josh, when he was talking about his wedding, was like, I'm the yes man, I'm not allowed to have an opinion, so I guess whatever you want. And we were like, that's like passive aggressive and weird. And like someone actually commented on our clip saying that we talked about that on social media, and they were like, well, it's because she is the bride. And it rubbed me the wrong way a little bit, because I was like, no, if he was saying you can pick and meant it genuinely, that would be fine. But it was because it was being kind of passive aggressive that we thought it was weird.
Yes.
This, I was like, in contrast to that, this felt very much like he didn't care.
Yes.
Like he was like, okay, yeah, great, you can do it. Like, and so at least I could appreciate it felt honest compared with Josh's tone in the last episode. Yeah,
I agree. I agree with you. So they get to the venue, and it appears to be, like, I don't know how to describe it, like a long tent with decorations. So it's just kind of like a funny little series of events. Basically, like back in the couple interview, Marissa asked if they have any fancy weddings in the Dominican Republic, which I'm like, duh. Anyway, and he says yes a lot. And she asks if he's been to one, and he says no. And then back in the moment, Edward tells the staff member at the wedding venue that it feels like a real wedding now. And Marissa says, you've never had a wedding? And we actually know that Edward's been married before, so I think that's what she's referencing. And Edward says that he hasn't. And Marissa jumps up and down excitedly and says, so this is your first wedding? And everyone is like, yay. This series of these things made me think of so many things. First of all, her emphasis on like, oh my God, you're poor and you haven't experienced anything fancy is weird.
I know.
Even if it's true, it's like, I feel it's the word tokenizing. Something about it feels a little bit off and like objectifying or something.
I know what you mean.
And then her having this thing where she's like, you're going to experience your first real wedding. Wah! It felt so like to Edward, like princess treatment, in a way where I had this like boom that hit me. This one might call it a thought.
Something happened in that brain of yours.
Yeah, for the first time in so long. And I just felt all of a sudden like, oh my God, Marissa is coming from this say yes to the dress Kleinfeld background where she's used to giving women this kind of princess-like fantasy experience of buying their wedding dress and imagining their perfect wedding day. She's doing that to Edward.
It's so funny. I didn't think about that, but now that you're saying it, yeah, I agree.
And I think there's more to kind of unfurl there. I found that really like interesting. So, and I think she likes this. Like, I think she likes being able to give him this like wedding experience that he's never had before and like treat him in this way. I don't think it's wrong. It just was like kind of funny given her professional career.
Yeah.
Basically, in this wedding venue, Marissa, they kind of go back and forth of like saying what they appreciate about the other, like what the changes that they've made recently. And Marissa says that she feels so at peace because he had to make so many adjustments to the way that he naturally is, like for her benefit. And he says that he recognizes that she's changed a lot too. And he says that actually he's like, because she said that she felt so at peace. He's like, actually, I'm feeling quite nervous. And in an interview, he explains that he's nervous specifically about if she'll change her mind about being with him. And she's happy now, but will that last? Just pretty serious.
Yeah. When he talks about being nervous, she makes a joke of like, oh, are you nervous to like, walk down the aisle? And she's like coaching him on how to walk. It's very critical waspy mom, how she's like, posture, upright. And she's like, don't tilt your head like you always do. Do it. And I really feel like the archetypes she kind of flip-flops between here are this like almost like sugar daddy vibe and then this like parent vibe.
Yes.
And it's very interesting to see like, because the way she's like posture, whatever, like I it's very obvious to me where that comes from and where she learned to speak like that. But I'm like, the concept of like saying that to my spouse is just like, it's crazy to me.
Foreign for sure. So in the next section, more interestingly, Marissa meets up with her mom, Mama Joanne. Joanne or Joan? It's Joanne, right?
Joanne. It's Joanne.
Okay. Joanne of Joanne Fabrics. That's a rumor I'm starting. I don't think she owns that, but
I think they went out of business.
Well, that's why she's on the show. So they meet up to do the wedding wine tasting together. And they get into such a serious conversation. I don't think any wine was actually critically tasted and decided on, but that's neither here nor there. So Marissa tells her mom that she and Edward have been doing really well for the last few days. And her mom says that she's concerned. And she asks Marissa if she's 100% sure. And Marissa says it's not doubts, but she does have a fear a little bit of the unknown. But she says today she's 100% into marrying him. Like if she had to do it today, she 100% would. And basically she just has a big emphasis, Marissa, on, but I love him. I love him so much, et cetera, et cetera. And her mom is just kind of coming from the perspective of love is great. It's important. It has to exist, but it's not all. Like there's a lot of logistics and like things you have to be smart about outside of that.
Her mom has a harsh tone, but everything she says is true and wise, I think.
I know. And then I was like, oh my God, we're going to be accused of being like bitches again. Because I was like, oh, why am I siding with Marissa's mom? Like you said, her tone is not good. Like her delivery is not good, but she's not wrong. And then Joanne says specifically that she wants Marissa to speak with her lawyer about the prenup. And Marissa's like, oh, well, I already had a lawyer draft one up and Edward actually signed it. And like, it was fine. It went great. And Joanne kind of insists. She's like, okay, that's great, but I'd like you to speak to my lawyer specifically. There's some stuff that actually, in fact, I've got her on the line. Yeah. So she pulls up her phone and here's the lawyer. Did you catch the lawyer's name?
Maria, I think.
Yeah, you're right, Maria. So we pull up lawyer Maria on speakerphone, and this was very interesting. God, this show, the craziest thing about the show is it makes me want to become a lawyer. And I don't think I actually want to become a lawyer. I don't think I physically could. I don't think I'm not that capable to do that. But every time we learn about the law side of this stuff, I am like riveted. I find it fascinating. Yeah. So basically, like, again, this is where I stopped taking notes, but I'm going off my memory. Please correct me if I got anything wrong. But Maria explains that when Marissa and Edward actually apply for the green card, they will have to submit something called an affidavit of support, which I remember this is a real thing from when I went through this with my husband. And basically when you sign this affidavit of support and you become the sponsor for your foreign spouse as part of the green card process, what you're signing up for is that if something, if they lost their job or whatever, or didn't have one, you are able to monetarily support them. But most importantly, if they were to get a divorce and Edward was able to keep his green card, which he, depending on circumstances, most likely would be able to, unless he became a citizen for the next 10 years, even after divorce, Marissa would be liable to pay him 40% of her yearly salary for 10 years if they got a divorce.
And that's just like completely unrelated to the prenup.
And so here's my thing. First of all, that's crazy. That's wild. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just like, whoa, that's a lot of money. But second, the lawyer, I have a lot of questions for her. She kept saying like, to your point, that's regardless of prenup. And so my question is, okay, so you can't add anything to the prenup to protect against that?
I think that makes sense because your affidavit of support is a contract you have with the U.S. government. It's nothing to do with the person. My understanding is the way it goes is if he were to ask the U.S. government for money, like he wouldn't be eligible essentially because like she's on the hook for supporting him. I don't think she automatically owes him 40% if you're unemployed or underemployed or something like that.
He would have to call on her, not the government.
I think if he had a high paying job, he would never get a dime from her.
It's not as if it's like, oh, if they got a divorce, no matter what, no matter his career, she would have to pay 40%. I don't think that's what they're saying.
No. And they even said that. They even said like the worst case, if you were completely unemployed, you could have to pay up to 40%.
And here's the thing is like a reality is there is a world in which if they got a divorce, Edward could straight up not get a job. He could be purposely unemployed and take 40% of her salary and like live a pretty comfortable life like that.
This is what scares me on this show. There was a moment in season 4 of this show with this one really stressful couple, Nicole and Azan. Fascinating couple. You got to watch that season.
Oh, I can't wait.
She did not meet the income requirement to sponsor his visa or his green card. So she asked her mom to sponsor. And her mom was like, this is a man I've never met. Like the relationship was truly dubious. He was very obviously just wanting a green card.
Right.
And the mom was like, no, like I will not sponsor this man. And Nicole was like, I can't believe it. Like she was really upset. She's like, just sign the form. That's it. And the mom was like, I don't think you understand what I'm signing.
Yeah, it's not just like a form.
It's not even just like an affidavit of like, I certify they have a real relationship. It's like, I will be financially responsible for this man for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I just think we forget on this show, in addition to signing a marriage contract, there's also this huge financial burden. And it is just crazy to me, these people who like aren't sure about each other, barely know each other, doing that.
I know. It's a serious thing to sign that.
Marissa basically says like, yeah, but Edward's not like that. He wouldn't do that. And Joanne was like, everybody's like that. Like she's like, everybody says they wouldn't, but like, you don't know. And like, you have to protect yourself. And I was like, honestly, yeah. Like, it's very easy to say you're not going to be the situation where something happens. But I think everybody thinks they're the exception. And so you do ultimately have to be smart about it, even though it feels unromantic.
I know. And it's like, the truth is, you just don't know how either of you would act in a divorce. It's also like you don't know the circumstances of the divorce. Like, what if someone cheated or like, I don't know, just you can't predict how either of you would act no matter how great your relationship is. And like, obviously you hope that you can trust each other and you wouldn't act poorly, but it is foolish to say, oh, we're different. Also, I'm sorry, I don't want to be mean, but like Marissa and Edward specifically, they've never lived together before. They don't know each other that well, or at least
I know
you think you do. And I hope that you do, but you can't be 100% sure. You can't even be honestly 90% sure.
I know.
And I don't think that means that you inherently shouldn't get married. I think whatever, if you want to go for it, you can go for it. But I agree with her mom that even if her delivery isn't great, it's like, I don't know, you can't say that confidently that Edward wouldn't do this to you.
I agree.
And also at the end, like basically Marissa's like, well, to your point, like, well, okay, Edward wouldn't do that. And like, we love each other. And Joanne again is like, okay. And like, you know, like you're not the first to love each other, you know, like,
I know.
I don't know. I honestly got her.
I do wish Joanne had a softer approach to some of these conversations, but she has yet to say a lie, if you ask me.
I know. Well, her biggest lie was when she said that America was like the greatest country on earth.
That's the one. Yeah. But the rest of her like advice or whatever, I'm like, it is sound advice. Could definitely be presented in a kinder, more loving way. But like, yeah, I can't say she's wrong. Yeah.
It also is crazy because, you know, when the idea of divorce came up, like Joanne's like, well, you know, I've been divorced. Like, I kind of know what I'm talking about. And Marissa's like, yeah, I've been divorced too. And I'm like, that actually is crazy that Marissa has been divorced. And like, this is how she's going into this marriage.
And doesn't recognize like clearly at the time when you got married, hopefully when you got married, you didn't expect you would get divorced either.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, one last thing I'll say about Joanne, which I appreciate, is like her concern is she wants her grandchildren to get their inheritance. And I can respect it. Like, that's who she's thinking of.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone's got to think of them. And 40% would be like, that would really hit Marissa hard. Like,
yeah,
her lifestyle would have to change in a significant way that would suck.
I agree.
I find Marissa's naivete about this honestly surprising.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to match like her character overall. So it is funny how like she's so serious and like logical in other ways and like very harsh. And then when it comes to her relationship and the idea of like potentially getting a divorce one day, she's like, that just wouldn't happen. I'm like, but I mean, I hope not. But logically, it like really could. It's not a crazy idea. I don't know. I just don't get it.
Me either.
Yeah, we'll see. But like, that's kind of my question going forward is, so what's the point then? Like, is there nothing that can be added to the prenup that could protect her against this? So is it just like a matter of basically, do you want to go through the wedding or not? I'm
Why
curious.
is Maria on the phone?
Yeah, like what's the point of this, honestly, other than just to scare
That's actually
Marissa?
a good question.
I mean, if the point is to scare Marissa, I don't even think it was like a bad idea necessarily. Like, she should know what she's signing up for sure. But I am curious, like, is that the only option, would to just be not get married?
Yeah, I'm curious too. Okay, next up we have Mallorie and Raşit, who are both doing simultaneous bachelor/bachelorette parties in what appears to be Huntsville, Alabama. Before they go to their parties, Mallorie has an interview with the camera, and she describes the agreement, quote unquote, that they made on the boat, previously referred to as a compromise. And I don't know if you noticed this, but like her language around this already shifted. She said, if he doesn't, quote, pester me about kids for the next 2 or 3 years, girl, we said 2.
Okay.
Now it's 2 or 3. Then she would throw away the prenup bullshit. But then again, with them, I'm thinking about this whole affidavit of support thing.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine if she said he can't get her house or her settlement, but then let's say she was unemployed and the only assets she had left were those, then she could be obligated to share those with him for the next 10 years in theory.
Oh my God. Oh my God, Mallorie needs a Joanne.
I know.
Holy shit.
I really want a version of the show where we like assign community members to other people.
Oh my God. Okay. Mallorie needs a Joanne and she needs a Rod.
I know. Oh my gosh, wait, new show where we have Joanne and Rod, buddy cop comedy, but they're both bad cops, on the road, just doing interventions.
I like really love that idea. They should
contact us. We're willing to negotiate a price.
Oh my God, Rod and Joanne. Low-key, need it. Need this link
I
up.
would watch. So we have, at this point, we're back to getting ready for the parties, and we have a phenomenon on the show, which we see often, which is random friend of the foreign fiance who lives in America also.
I love this archetype.
So we have a friend of Raşit's who's from Turkey. They've been friends for 5 years, and he lives in New Jersey. Reminds me so much of Syed from last season.
What a clown that dude was.
And then this kind of cracks me up because like Mallorie greets this friend in Turkish, and then they're all sitting in the living room together, and then Raşit and the friend start speaking in Turkish, and Raşit's telling his friend like he's super lonely and like Mallory's right there. I don't know, it's just like interesting. Funny vibe before the bachelor party.
I'm so lonely. Let's get fucked up.
So at this point, a party bus pulls up to the house, and all of the friends who we know are in the bus, including Brandon and Michaela.
It's described as a party bus, and this is probably me honestly being a bitch, but like, why did it look like a senior bus to a church?
It did look like a senior living center field trip bus.
Like, I feel like a party bus at the very least it would be black. Like, this one was just white with like kind of like, it looked kind of dingy from the outside. I feel like it would be like, or it would be black and it might have like a logo on it or something to be like, oh, it's like cool.
It's an anonymous party bus. Yeah. The inside looks like a party bus, to be fair.
Yes, it was just so funny to skimp on the outside.
So Brandon says to the camera that now that Raşit is getting married to Mallorie, he's going to be like a brother. So therefore, he's taking him to a strip club. Okay. And it's a joint party bus. So even though they're doing gender segregated parties, they're taking one bus together.
Which I thought was kind of cute.
I thought it was cute too. And so Brandon is taking the boys to a strip club and the girls are going downtown, I guess just like to bars. I know I'm too woke. Like, I know it. And I know we just haven't seen that much of these people in general, but it really makes me sad that like the only connection points we've seen for Brandon and Raşit are them bonding over not wanting a prenup and now them going to a strip club.
I know. It's like always bonding over the degradation of some woman, whether it's Mallorie or like they're objectifying the women at the club. Maybe that's too harsh to say about the strippers, but I feel that there is a way to support. Maybe it's less about what happened in the show and more about what we know about Raşit and how he acts about sex and women outside of the show. I think that that's more coloring my perception of this. I don't think that anything they did was particularly disrespectful, but I think it's like I'm kind of seeing this through line with Raşit overall, in addition to like with evidence outside of the show. So that's why I feel that way.
So basically, Brandon is like telling these two Turkish guys, you know, how to interact at the club, throw ones at the girls, whatever. And Brandon gets some of the girls to go give Raşit a lap dance on stage.
I've never heard of that. I've never been to a strip club, but I've never heard of a strip club where like you have to go on stage. That just happens down there.
They like hit a gong and then like to announce the lap dance. Like, I never heard of that.
Oh my God. People who can't handle like someone singing happy birthday to you in a restaurant, this is literally final boss territory for like public humiliation. Raşit was loving it, by the way.
He was loving it. And I don't know. Again, I know in my heart that I'm too woke about a lot of things. I know that. But like, I just get bummed out by all these strip club bachelor parties.
I think in addition, because a lot of the time it's framed, it wasn't necessarily framed at this time this way, but a lot of the time it's framed as your last night of freedom, your last night of being single. And it's like, first of all, assuming that those strippers would want anything to do with you sexually. They're literally just at work. Leave them alone. And number two, the idea that you're single before you get married. You've literally been in a relationship the whole time. Again, not exactly what's happening here, but yeah, overall, I don't love this part of our culture.
It's just the institution of it I kind of feel like doubt about. Although, remember when last season when Joan went to a strip club that was focused on male clientele with her mother-in-law? I did love that.
That was incredible.
I loved how misguided it was, which is why I loved it. But in this context, I'm less of a huge fan.
Yeah.
And then in the meantime, the girls are at this bar. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like an outdoor bar. There's like a motorcycle they're admiring.
Patio. Yeah.
Yeah. Mallory's friends ask about the prenup situation, and she tells them that she negotiated 2 or 3 years on the baby situation. Again, 2 or 3. And got rid of the prenup. And Michaela asks if she feels strongly that the no prenup thing is a good idea.
Yeah, good question. She's being Joan Light here. Joanne Light.
Mallory says she trusts Raşit and, quote, if it burns me, it fucking burns me. This is a departure from what you were saying before, is all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Back at the strip club, Raşit is now on the pole.
I don't think he was supposed to do that. The strippers are like, dude, you're literally taking money away from me. Get the fuck down.
And Brandon says that he did it like a pro. And I fucking love this moment. Raşit is like front row, right up against the stage. And he says to one of the strippers, I like your tattoo. And she says, it says pay me.
She's so clear.
Boundary queen. Love her.
He doesn't even understand what she said, by the way.
He also like, the strippers like kind of like down on all fours. And he says they're like reminding him of cats.
And he goes, "Arr."
Yeah, it was a lot.
You know, here's what I just want to say. Seeing Raşit at the strip club, if he had not had such a presence on social media, being on his live streams on TikTok, miming eating cooch, and like talking about pretending to shave pussy hair, by the way, was also something he was doing on live. If he wasn't doing this freaked out shit over and over and over again, like it wasn't just like one live where he got kind of carried away and weird. It's like literally when he live streams, he's like, he's doing freak shit. And so like to know externally, like outside of the show, how perverted he is, it really puts this thing in a whole new light to me, because in the moment he's not acting
that
that
any
weird.
lines at the strip club.
He didn't, but I'm like, I know you want to. Like, or maybe this was the beginning. Maybe this is when the seed was planted. And he's like, oh my God, let me embrace this part of American culture. It makes it feel so much more nefarious.
No, I agree. Back at Mallory's, which honestly, it's not much of a bachelorette party. It's just basically her at a bar with her friends.
Tuesday night.
Like an outdoor patio even.
Yeah.
But she tells her friends that her sister and mom are coming to the wedding, but her dad is not, because he doesn't feel comfortable with her marrying a Muslim.
Hey, go fuck yourself.
And then also we learned that Mallory has not yet told Raşit that the dad's not coming. And then the reason why, because he's like excited to meet her dad and she doesn't want to like break his heart. And this is again like, okay, I don't know how I feel about this, because on one hand I understand the desire to like protect your partner, but I also again feel like this is an example of her not taking him seriously as like a peer, as a partner. Like partners, in my opinion, you share information. You know what I mean? Like you don't withhold stuff like this, even if it's tough. I don't know, especially because it's like, I don't think you need to relay everything someone's ever said about your partner to them. I don't think that's helpful, but it's like, he's expecting to meet your dad and your dad's not going to be there. I feel like he deserves to have that information. Also, I want you to be able to talk to your partner about things that are on your heart.
Yeah, like why wouldn't you turn to them as a source of comfort in something that is upsetting?
It's just interesting to me is all that she's withheld this information from. I don't think it's malicious. It makes me wonder about their dynamic is all.
I completely agree. I feel like also this idea of like she's worried it's going to upset him. Honestly, to your point, it felt not like she's talking about a peer. I feel like she's talking about her kid.
Yeah.
It felt demeaning. I agree.
And then that was pretty much that.
My prediction, though, is that the dad will show up at the wedding. And it'll be like, oh, yay.
And maybe.
Maybe I'm wrong. But I'm glad at least that her mom and sister can be there. I wasn't sure if
me
any of her
too.
family was going to be. So I'm happy about that. And honestly, if your dad is that much of a dick and like for reasons of like that are so stupid, like it's just like Islamophobic, honestly, I think you're better off in not having him there.
I know. And I know it's hard for the person in the situation to feel that way, but I agree with you.
So up next, we have Shea and Anabelle, who are getting married in this section. Spoiler.
So their section starts with them in bed, and Anabelle says she needs to write her vows, which I think is a crazy behavior for your wedding day.
And she's not the first on this show.
No, and then Shea asks if she could like maybe get his daughters involved because he's worried about her ability to write vows because she often gets genders wrong. And he's like, I don't want your vows to be like, I love her, or like...
It's kind of funny. So then we cut to Shea's daughters doing Annabelle's hair and makeup. And Allison tells Anabelle that if she can survive a lake party, she can survive the wedding, which is kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
And Allison goes on and says that she is sorry for the drama that she started and for being a bit of a brat this whole time. And Annabelle laughs, but they can now move forward and start off on a clean slate. So it seems like that's all wrapped up in a tight bow, like we predicted they would have it be day of the wedding. I don't know if I fully believe it, but I'm like, okay, whatever. So Annabelle puts on her dress and everyone is like, wow, like all the women are excited.
So while the girl's getting ready, Shea is also getting ready with his friend Jeff. And Jeff asks how Shea feels about the whole like will conversation in the last episode. Shea basically just says like his daughters have bad manners pretty much. And he also says he's not worried that Anabelle is in it for the money because he says she even puts his underwear on and quote, some girl that was out to get my money ain't gonna be putting my underwear on. And I'm like, first of all, I think you underestimate what people will do for a check, but okay. I genuinely don't think Annabelle's like trying to like scam him out of his life savings either. Like I actually believe she loves him weirdly enough, but I just thought that was a funny like example of like, or proof that she's not in it for the money.
Very true.
And then once Shea finishes getting ready, he goes to where the girls are getting ready and Annabelle's like, let me see your nails. Did you clip your nails? And he's like, I clipped them at home. And she's like looking to see if there's dirt under the nails. And like everyone in the room is freaked out because they're like, oh, we didn't realize like you do all that for
his mommy. Yeah, sorry, we didn't know that.
His mommy Belle. Yeah.
Fucking mommy Belle. God damn it. And then in the car on the way to the venue, it's the gender segregated. So Annabelle's with all the girls and Shea's daughter Allison is like, I had no idea that you checked my dad's nails and toenails. That's so weird. I am so curious what she thought when she saw the show and like how many times Annabelle's scrubbing his penis and nutsack on TV. God. And Annabelle's like, yeah, well, they're dirty. And Allison kind of dunks on her dad. Is like, how are they even dirty? He's literally just a real estate agent. She's not even like working in the field.
True.
We have a little interview with Anabelle where she says that she's excited to get married, but she's sad because like her family can't be there. And she even cries a bit in the interview. So that does suck. I mean, that's just the reality for so many of these foreign partners. And that's sad.
Yeah. There's
no way around it. But they arrive at what they call the chapel. Sorry, was this not just like a 2-story family home? Am I wrong?
I don't know.
I only got a really good look of it from the backside to your point where they're getting married is in this kind of like arbor, like the building is on a hill. And so the arbor is on the backside of it in like the backyard, but it's more like they're on a hill. So it's less of a yard, more of like just a slope that it's dangling over. It's kind of spooky actually.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry, we get this shot. I couldn't get a screenshot of it, but we get this shot of the like full like zoomed out look. First of all, it's just like a 2-story building. Looks like someone's house. Maybe this is a chapel, but it doesn't look like a traditional chapel, I'll say. It looks ugly as fuck. It almost looks like they're doing construction or something.
They were like tarps or something.
Yeah, there was like this neon green tarp looking thing like behind the arbor where they're getting married. And I think that maybe that was actually a walkway for everyone, but I'm like, why neon green?
Yeah.
Anyway, so Annabelle walks down the aisle extremely awkwardly, I'll say. This was really like unceremonious. She just was like kind of like looking around, like playing with her hair and just kind of like swinging her arms and like she gets to Shea.
She needs coaching from Marissa.
No, seriously. And then the ceremony starts and it's pretty quick. At one point, the officiant reads their vows to each other.
No, Jeff read the vows.
Isn't he the officiant?
No, he's just a random friend.
Wait, you're kidding.
Jeff read Shea's vows, and I didn't hear any vows on behalf of Anabelle. I don't even think she ended up writing them that day. Shea is standing there facing Anabelle while someone else is like Anabelle, I love you so much. Like, is that not weird?
It's weird.
I've never heard this in my life. I've never heard of outsourcing vows.
Weird as literal fuck. Is this a thing in the Smoky Mountains? Let us know. And yeah, we didn't hear what her vows were. So I was like, okay, why even have like the plot point earlier in this episode where it's like, oh, you should get help writing them. Yeah, maybe she didn't write them. That's hilarious if she didn't. It's actually so funny of her.
I know.
So anyway, they say I do and they kiss and everyone cheers. And in an interview with the couple after they've gotten married, Shea tells Anabelle, we had a few rough patches while you've been here, but third time's the charm. Anyway, they feed each other cake and we get in an interview with Allison where she says, I admit I kind of was trying to sabotage in the beginning because I didn't really like her when she got here. But I can say now I don't think my dad could have picked a better wife or person for him. So that's nice. Yeah. And then Shea suggests that they all go back to the cabin for a party post-wedding.
Finally, an appropriate situation for a party.
Sure. And Anabelle in an interview says that she knows that she told Shea no partying, but it's their wedding, so a little party is okay. Here's my thing. I think specifically when she's talking about partying, she means like drinking, right?
Yeah.
Hey guys, here's another idea. It would actually allow you to, for once, stick to your convictions and boundaries and promises to one another, is you can have a party and he cannot drink. Crazy idea.
I know. Or at least, like, I just need these people to be a little more specific about what their issues are. Like, is the issue him partying with 20-year-olds? Is the issue him getting blackout drunk? Like, what's the real issue? I feel like that would help to clarify.
Agreed. We need some specificity. We end in a disgusting interview with the couple where Shea asks if Anabelle is okay to clip his toenails for the rest of his life.
And his toes are out.
Ugh. And she says, yes. Shea, save that for cameo. And Anabelle says, yes, because he is her husband and she loves him so much. And they laugh and they kiss.
No, then he goes, you like clipping? And she goes, I would not clip anyone else.
Oh my God.
Like, no, I'm trying to make this into like a clipping fetish.
It's like a sex. I think it is a sex thing for them. They like the hygiene of it. He's like getting into hygiene for the first time in his life. And he's like, this must be sexually exciting for me to get into it. Whatever. Dude, what is the situation with this couple? Is this just a Geschmackssache? Is it a not to our taste, but whatever, it's cool? Or is there something actually wrong with these people? I don't know.
I think wrong with them. I do.
And I've more and more been like, what the fuck is up with Anabelle? No, for real. Who is she and why is she okay with all this? Like, is she fucked up?
Literally all these people at the beginning, I was like, oh, like maybe they don't know really like what their partner's like. Like once they get to America, like they're going to be so upset. And then they're all kind of like, oh, okay. I'm like, okay, so I guess you're fine with this. And then like, why do I care?
Yeah, it's a good question, I guess. Whatever. I can't even say if they like it, I love it. I don't love it and I'll never love it and I don't get it. So weird.
But I also wonder if this is the last we're seeing of them because the wedding's done. We haven't been teased any further drama.
I know. I guess I'm going to have some closing thoughts just in case this is the last time we see them before the tell-all. My main thing, and I would love for this to be disproven. There is still time technically, but my main complaint is what the hell? Why did Anabelle not have a confrontation with Nicole, the ex-wife?
Everything was such a fake out.
Such bullshit. Don't set up these amazing potential storylines and then not do anything with them. It's so annoying. Don't even mention it then.
I know. I agree.
So the only way they could fix this is if they like in the last episodes, like, I don't know, Nicole comes and tries to blow up the situation. But I don't even think that's what's going to happen.
I know. I think they're pretty much just done. I think that's actually it.
Is she coming to the tell-all and like dropping a bomb?
I hope so.
That could be good.
A list of who we think is going to be at the tell-all.
Yeah, predictions. I love that idea.
Okay, now we have a very brief section with Ashia and Maxwell. Not even Maxwell, just Ashia.
Brief but exciting.
Brief but exciting. So we are at the restaurant where Ashia stormed out the last time we saw her. And as a reminder, godbrother Rod and family friend Kathy are still sitting at the table. And Rod tells the camera that he's even more worried about Ashia now. He was worried when he came here, but seeing her react in this way to feedback makes him even more worried. And he feels like he's lost her. And then in the meantime, Ashia is having an interview with the camera where she says she knows what's best for herself, especially when she listens to God. And like,
sorry. She didn't just say that. Yeah. She said that in the third person. I think we need to read that quote directly. Did you not notice?
I don't have the quote. You say it.
Okay. She says specifically, Ashia says, quote, Ashia knows what's best for Ashia, especially when Ashia is listening to God. Love the third person.
Yeah. Interesting.
Nothing says I have a firm grasp on reality and sanity than speaking about God in the third person.
So fabulously, as Ashia is having this interview, we see Catie coming up from behind,
Ooh,
which I just love, the little crossover. And she then enters the frame as Ashia's having this interview. And Catie is again trying to get through to Ashia. And she basically is like also pointing out the fact that she didn't even know she was coming to a wedding and it all feels so fast and whatever. And it's just so funny. And like, she's like, I just had to say something. And Ashia is like, Ashia really does not want feedback. And that's fine. But then honestly, like, elope. Like, why are you forcing these people to be involved?
Yeah,
you know?
I actually
And
agree.
like, one thing Ashia says is that their relationship has stood the test of time because they've been together a year. But it's like, okay, but how many weeks have you spent in person, first of all? Also, a year is like nothing.
A year is genuinely nothing if you're in a long distance relationship.
It's barely something in a same location relationship.
Yeah.
And then she also says that another thing that they have, you know, overcome is the challenge of having the visa denied. And Catie asked a question, which I think others have posed. We have certainly wondered whether the visa being denied could have been a sign of something. And Ashia says it was not a sign, it was a test. And they passed the test.
I would love to know, other than her own personal opinion, how does Ashia determine if something is a sign from God or a test from God? I'd love to know the distinction. Is it just vibes?
Same, would love to know. And Ashia just pretty much dismisses all of Catie's concerns as being misplaced. And that's that.
And here's the thing. Obviously, Ashia, of all people, is going to do what Ashia wants to do.
Yes.
And you really can't get through to her. Like, that just is true. And I think that her community members, Rod doesn't go about it in the right way. And I think his motivations are not purely correct. But like overall, like Catie, for example, like they're not wrong. Like they are right to just be like, hey, are you sure? I feel like this is fast. And like, I'm worried about what this could be. That's literally fair. And the fact that Ashia is just so unwilling to even consider that possibility is concerning and scary.
One thing that also scares me is like one thing I've learned in my life is urgency is almost never a good sign. Like if you're in a situation where you have to like make a decision right away, like I find it worth exploring where that pressure is coming from. And unless it's like they're on life support, you have to make a medical decision. Okay, I understand that urgency. Sure. But like even if you're, for example, like being pressured to buy something and it's like, well, you know, this is the last one in stock and you have to make a decision right now. Like it's worth it to be like, okay, wait, like why is there this urgency rather than like allowing yourself to be pressured by that, right?
Right. Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting because Ashia is like, a lot of what she's mentioning is like, well, I'm here and we need to do it. We need to get the visa, whatever. And it's kind of interesting because like, of course, we understand some of the complexities of being international relationships. And like, I can completely understand the desire to like get that process going right now. I do. But truthfully, what does change in your relationship if you guys wait another year before you get married? You know?
Well, I think it's the thing that Ashia's claiming is not the issue, even though she's like explicitly said it is, which is that she's losing out. It's like she wants to have a baby. I think that's what this is about.
Then I wish she would like freeze her eggs or something. Like I feel like stressed about the fact that she's like, and also she's not open. I'm not saying she should be, but she's like not open to premarital sex or anything like that. So it's like they have to like get married and then I'm assuming ideally want to be living together when they have a child and not have Maxwell be, I don't know though, but like, it's just all these things where I'm like, I wish she would just explore like why there's such a pressure to get married this second. Because it's all anyone is asking her is like, why does it have to be right now? And she's like not been able to really give a clear answer about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm so curious if this is for whatever reason, maybe just the fertility stuff, you know, or like maybe she just wants to have sex, you know, maybe she's horny, who knows? But I'm so curious, is this just or majority coming from Ashia, like the rush of it, or is Maxwell in her ear pushing for it to happen now and that's not being included? I don't know. Like, does he have any influence in that sense?
I'd love to know more about the source of the urgency because it feels a little out of the blue that it's like, we have to get married right now.
Yes. And like, I don't agree with Rod being like, what are you pregnant? Like, what's the rush? But I kind of get like a little bit where that confusion is coming from because we are also like, yeah, what is the rush? Like it would explain it. I don't think that's the case, but it does feel as if it's some rushed, urgent decision like that would be.
Yeah, I agree.
Odd. Maybe that's it. She just wants to fuck.
And I mean, it's allowed, but it would be nice if she could be honest with herself about what that is.
I need her to also have a Joanne. I need her to be told about the realities of being the sponsor,
although
etc.
To be fair, she has a rod and that's not doing much.
That's true. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to today's episode. We appreciate you being here so much. Please make sure you're following us wherever you're listening right now. And if it's your vibe, please make sure you also check us out on social media. We are on primarily TikTok and Instagram at MyBestViewPod. We post little clips from our episodes, and we love engaging with everyone in the comments. And also, we post screenshots from every episode of the show weekly, which is, if I toot our own horn, I think are pretty good and funny.
I agree. And even if you don't watch the show, it's like a fun way to see some of the visual moments you might have missed.
Exactly. So make sure you're following us everywhere. Give us a nice little rating and tell your friends about us.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.